Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the DLF Trade Show, where we are here in fresh new clothing. At least me. I don't remember what Addison was wearing for the past two shows, but it's a nice hat. We are here, and in case you don't pick up on the tension that you will see between Addison and myself, we are fighting. Addison was very rude to me today. I let him know I didn't appreciate it, and he just didn't care. No, he's just like, too bad. So, but we're professional. We're going to try and do our best to put this show out here for you, for everyone. And, well, I mean, it's boring if we don't fight a little bit, but we'll try and keep it down, keep it, to a respectable level. I'm going to murder you. Okay, so we are actually going to be talking about those guys who give you positive points. We're aiming at the lower end of quarterbacks, guys that are probably thought of as QB3s that probably can give you QB2 production, heavily emphasizing this season. Because we're going to talk about some guys that might not be starting maybe even at the end of the season, but probably not next year. So the reason I wanted to talk about this is now is a great time that if you have someone in your league like me who has no patience and likes to trade way too much and has three quarterbacks on their team, and their third quarterback is one of these guys, it's a great idea to go send out a trade to them, because if you can send them a wide receiver or a running back that will fill in their last flex spot, but they're losing a QB that they don't even really have to start. They're just going to start them maybe on a bye week or in case of an injury. I'm the kind of person that will trade that. I will make that trade, even though it's a quarterback for a non-quarterback. I have quite often on many different shows on the beautiful DLF family of media said, do as I say, not as I do. Don't always do what I do, because I do a lot of very silly things when it comes to trading. But I think if these guys are your QB 3 or 4, and you can get, we'll look to see what some of these trades are to see if it is worthwhile to send them away. But it is a very smart idea to bring them onto your team, A, for the safety of having that QB 3 who could be a QB 2. And if they do become that QB 2, you can trade them if you don't need them later in the season when they're worth more already. So let's just get into it. Let's dive in and talk about Davis Mills, who word has come out from Houston that Davis Mills is the guy, because there is no one else there. They didn't draft anyone. I'm sure they have a backup that I don't know who it is.
Oh, now I'm actually curious. Who is it?
It ain't Tyrod Taylor. It ain't trying to think. I honestly don't even know. Is it like Brissett?
Kyle Allen.
I was not close. Right. So yes, Davis Mills is the guy. But will he be next year? But that's not what we're worried about. We're talking about this year. Davis Mills will be the starter this year. So let's talk about some trades. In a 12-team Superflex league, this trade was Jerry Jeudy, Davis Mills, and Cole Kmet for Antonio Gibson. Jerry Jeudy, 232.3, Davis Mills, 106.6, Cole Kmet, still a very disrespectful 37.1 for a total of 376, Antonio Gibson, 325.4. I want the Jeudy side because bias, because quarterback. I love me some Jerry Jeudy. I am, with every passing day, getting a little lower on Antonio Gibson. And it's weird to think that Cole Kmet comes in at 37 points on this, but I would feel better with him not involved in this trade anyway. It's such a small thing, but there's no QB tax here. This is treating Davis Mills like he's not a starter. So to me, this is something you don't do. Now, if I can send Antonio Gibson and get this package, I am thrilled to no ends.
Yeah. We talked about it last week with how much we don't want Antonio Gibson now, right?
Yeah, that's this is the move, because chances are there's a lot of people in your league that agree that Brian Robinson being brought in, Rivera saying it's a committee already, like this early in their off season. It's a good way to get out. And with that many people agreeing with you, it might be tough to 1-for-1 or even 2-for-1. So if you can break it down into 3 pieces that have potential, like Jerry Jeudy, with the weird stuff going on where we haven't heard about any sort of suspension or actual charges brought against him. Davis Mills, starting quarterback. Cole Kmet, he's the starting tight end there now. So with an offense that should be better than it was last year, and last year he still ended within that 80-ish target mark. So like, I think this is a beautiful trade for selling Gibson, even though that's not really what we're talking about right now.
Yeah, 100. Like, I almost would consider like pick 2 of those 3 guys, and I would probably trade Gibson for any combination of a pick 2 there.
No, I mean, I would. Would I do it? But... Yes. Would I prefer Jeudy and Mills? Absolutely.
Right. Like, and I just think this is a fantastic trade overall because, like you said, like you're moving off of a player that we have identified as kind of a sell post draft.
Yeah.
And you're getting the quarterback in Superflex for a very cheap quarterback who has, spike week potential. And you get the upside in whatever Jerry Jeudy can become with Russell Wilson, assuming that all the off-field stuff kind of gets settled down. And Cole Kmet, who I think is a fantastic candidate to be like a back-end tight end 1 in a season with not a lot of other weapons to throw to with the Bears and Justin Fields. So, yeah, I'm all for the package side of this and especially getting Davis Mills for sure.
Yeah, this next one makes me happy because it really shows... The calculator is, I don't want to say disrespecting, because it's the value of 208 for Davis Mills doesn't feel wrong. I got to be honest. Like, it doesn't. How high would you go to acquire Davis Mills? Like, the answer definitely doesn't have a 1 in front of it. And there's that chunk at the beginning of the second. Like, I think once you hit the Willis Ritter area, like the 203-ish, I might as well just take Davis Mills. So like the value isn't really that far off. But here we have Davis Mills and Jamal Williams for Brandon Ayuk in the 212. Mills still 106.6, Jamal Williams 16.8 for a total of 123.3. Brandon Ayuk 149.4 and 73.7 for the 212. Now this trade to me is showing that little bit more of respect for Davis Mills, bolstering what his value is because quarterback going without quarterback coming back and starting quarterback. Now, there are still Brandon Ayuk people because towards the end of the season, when Debo became a running back and, Ayuk was weirdly out of that weirdly placed doghouse he was in the beginning of the season, he was doing pretty well. Plus, with Lance coming in, who knows? It's a completely different offense. I would do Davis Mills in this one just because, to me, I have more of a known situation in Davis Mills. I have a starting quarterback. And you know me, I love me some young wide receivers, but I'm fine missing out on Ayuk, who is in that replaceable area of wide receiver production. Starting quarterback. And the 212 and Jamal Williams or whatever.
Yeah. This was one of the moves that when you were talking about it earlier, that like if you can identify the teams that kind of have a Davis Mills or some other quarterback kind of in that range, and you have this like questionable wide receiver who's maybe the wide receiver 5 or maybe even the 6 on your team, like Brandon Ayuk, and you can kind of make that swap. And the other manager sees Ayuk maybe as his wide receiver 3 or 4 that can fill a weekly starting lineup spot more than Davis Mills can, because he can't start Davis Mills because you can only start 2. This would be one of those trades that I would look to go for. I think you might not necessarily have to add the 212. And you might just be able to do Ayuk and Davis Mills and be like, you know what, just throw in Jamal Williams, who I like Jamal Williams. He's one of the running backs that I want to target because handcuff. But like, I don't know if you necessarily needed to include the 212. Maybe you just start with Ayuk and then work your way to that. But either way, I agree with you. Like, I would take the Davis Mills side because quarterback in Superflex. And Ayuk's probably the lowest level wide receiver that I would go for, kind of straight up.
but here, let's take a step back. I offer you my Brandon Ayuk for your Davis Mills. You come back to me with Davis Mills and Jamal Williams for Ayuk in the 212. I'm still hitting yes without thinking about it.
Yeah, that's not like a major
Deal
change
breaker in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
just
yeah.
to put it out there, like, yes, I would absolutely try one for one first. But if this was a counter that came back, I'm like, fine, I will give you that because still neither of those pieces. You can go an entire season or forever into the future with neither of these pieces touch a lineup, assuming you draft the 212, and it just doesn't matter. So might as well just do it anyway. The next quarterback we're going to talk about, take a breath and get ready for the name we're about to say. And yes, we know, Jared Goff. They did nothing to say he's not their quarterback this year. He's their quarterback this year. Let's pretend he's cut at the end of this season. Jared Goff will be signed and most likely bridging somewhere else next season also. Jared Goff is good enough to be an NFL starting quarterback who now has what can be a very dynamic offense with him. Jameson Williams, Amon-Ra St. Brown, hopefully staying healthy, TJ Hawkinson and DeAndre Swift. Like that's a lot of good pieces. Like that can be a good offense. And Jared Goff, we've seen do well in a well-run offense with good players around him. I was trying to find a very low level way of wording that, because don't expect too much, but like he can easily be your fill-in QB3, and there's a very good chance he becomes that next game manager QB2 along the lines of a couple of people we're going to talk about in a couple of minutes after this, which is a good thing for your Superflex team or B, a good trade chip later on. But let's get into a trade. 12-team Superflex again. I think this is probably all going to be 12-team Superflex, but talking fast, slow it down. Jared Goff, Chase Edmonds, and running back one on the New York Jets, Michael Carter. Never going to give up. 4, Gabe Davis, Rashad Penny, and OJ Howard. Jared Goff coming in at 105.9, which is almost identical to Davis Mills, so we're still talking around that 208 area. Chase Edmonds, 60 points. Michael Carter, 490 points. I'm just kidding. It's 49.1. I love you, Michael Carter. For a total of 214.9. Gabe Davis only down at 80.9. With all that hype, you figured it'd be higher because he's the guy. He's a breakout candidate. We're getting the really heavy Bills coach speak articles coming out.
Yeah,
which usually means he's not. Rashad Penny, who, man, Carol don't care that they just drafted Kenneth Walker in the second. If Penny's healthy and Penny's doing well, Penny's going to get the job.
Penny has a hamstring injury already.
Yeah, Penny's staying healthy. But yeah. So Penny's only 45.7. OJ Howard, man, I wanted him to be a thing. 6.7 for a total of 133.3. I'm going to take this from the side, but we want to talk about. If I can give up Gabe Davis, Rashad Penny, and OJ Howard and get Jared Goff, I'm thrilled. The fact that you got Chase Edmonds and Michael Carter on top is great. I can't imagine giving up a starting quarterback for these pieces. Even if I'm rebuilding, I'm holding on to Jared Goff until he's worth more. I'm risking holding on to Jared Goff. If he's really, really bad, I still think you get this because he's still a starting quarterback that someone will want at some point for an injury replacement or a bye week if someone is silly enough to think that you can't just put in a running back or a wide receiver in your last flex spot. Yeah, but still, getting stuff on top of Jared Goff coming back to me is just beautiful.
Yeah. I could see, like, if you were rebuilding and you wanted to trade Jared Goff now, I could see that move to Gabe Davis because the upside that if Gabe Davis is the guy, then we're talking about like a legitimate wide receiver too. And that's the upside that he kind of presents. And I would just kind of want a different piece than Penny and OJ Howard. Like I'd even take like a 2024 second.
I would like it so much better with the 24 second in there.
Right. Like if you just kind of like nix them and that would look a lot better, especially if you're rebuilding just to get some value back for Jared Goff. And that's just, I think, for Goff individually, not even including the fact that you also got Chase Edmonds and Michael Carter, who are fantastic running back, just depth pieces. Because like you said, like they're probably not going to see your starting lineup a whole lot, but I feel like there are going to be weeks throughout the year, and we see this, every single season, that just you get to week 9, 10, 11, and it's just like Raheem Mostert got hurt in week 1. We already knew that. And Sony Michel is now hurt, and it's only Chase Edmonds for like this 1 week. And he has like 21 fantasy points, and boom, you're in. Like Michael Carter, Brees Hall, maybe he does get hurt or like has some just a week, and you can plug and play Michael Carter. That 1 week means that you won this trade if you're able to start those guys confidently, let alone even just the, like you said, the dart throw flex play that like you're just throwing those guys in there because you need to because of a bye week, even in a less than ideal circumstances on their team. You're still able to do that with more confidence than some other guys that you have on your roster too. So, and plus you get Jared Goff. And people like to hate on Jared Goff. But like he had a couple quarterback 1 seasons with the Rams. Now, granted, with Sean McVay and a really, really good offense with really good weapons, but the offense around him, like we said, is pretty nice. Like he could throw a 70-yard touchdown to Jameson Williams, it could be like a slant route and Jameson Williams takes it to the house, and that counts as a passing touchdown for Jared Goff. He could do the same with DeAndre Swift. He could find TJ Hawkinson, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Even DJ Chark isn't like the worst like wide receiver 2/3, That is pretty solid. So there's going to be opportunities and times, and we saw it even last year at the beginning of the season for Jared Goff, and I think we saw it a little bit at the end of the season too during Amon-Ra's kind of explosion, that Jared Goff was like serviceable. So, again, just having the opportunity to be able to start these guys means that you're winning the trade hands down.
This next one's weird. I don't get this next one. Not gonna lie. Like this could have ended up in horrible trades and I wouldn't have questioned it. Jared Goff and Dalton Schultz for Mitchell Trubisky, a 24 third, and Logan Thomas. Goff 105.9, Dalton Schultz, very disrespectful 76.7 for a total of 182.6. Mitch Trubisky 47.2, a 24 third at 29, and Logan Thomas at 20.4. I have a couple of questions about all of this. I feel like the only correctly priced thing in here is Jared Goff. And maybe the 24 third, because that's so far away and so late. Dalton, I get it. Tight end is stud or nothing. But like Dalton Schultz is like he's like that tier 2 for me. Like you have that top tier, I'm gonna forget a name because I always do. Pitts, Mark Andrews, Kelsey. Like you could throw Waller in there if you still believe. Kittle, just name value alone is there. But then you have that next tier of Hawkinson, Goddard. I still want to throw Gesicki up there, even though he doesn't belong there because I love him. But to me, Dalton Schultz has earned that tier. In which case, he's got to be worth more than 76 points. Like this, to me, is way too low.
Yeah.
And I get it. It's Mitch Trubisky. I get it. They just drafted Pickett. Would you be super shocked if Trubisky started the season, at least the first couple of games?
No.
Yeah, like, I get that maybe he shouldn't be worth the 105.9 that Goff is because we know Goff is starting, but that's really low. And is Logan Thomas retired? Like, I get it. He was hurt almost the entire season last season. He is 30, though he was a quarterback at the beginning. Like, he barely played at the beginning of his career.
Wasn't the injury, like, horrible, though?
Was it? Like, because
it was like a really bad, like, hip injury, I thought.
I just remember he kept trying to come back. But to drop him down to 20 points seems crazy because when he played 2 seasons ago and was healthy, he did really well. Though apparently I'm missing something with the severity of what his injury was.
I mean, he just like had a couple other injury things, and then like tore his ACL in week 13 or 14. Is what I thought I saw from this.
Right, that's late. That's a little rough, but still,
and at 30 years old, like that's
there's just. I still don't hate the grab of getting Logan Thomas for the end of the season run as a tight end then, but man, so this comes out to 182 to 96.6, by the way. Like, to me, this is Jared Goff all the way by himself, no less adding Dalton Schultz. I don't understand the idea of trading 2 solid, definite starters for Mitch Trubisky at 24th, third, and Logan Thomas. Like I literally don't see the reason for this in any way on any team ever, unless I'm sorry, Mrs. Trubisky, if this is your team, yeah, go trade for your boy. That's, but other than familial relations, no.
Yeah, like you have to believe that Trubisky's starting the majority of the season, if not maybe the entire season. And with the offense that he's in, you know, he could also have some fantasy games as well. But the problem is that he's got a first-round rookie breathing down his neck. Goff doesn't have that this year. Like if either one of these two play bad, one of them's getting replaced, and it's not Jared Goff. So there is that. And then I agree with you on Dalton Schultz. I think I'm even higher on Dalton Schultz than you. Like I've been trying to see if I could fit him in as my tight end 5 in Dynasty ahead of Darren Waller and Hawkinson.
It would take very little convincing for me to say okay to that. Like, because everyone that he has no questions. There are no questions about him. The only question is, does he have a ceiling? And he kind of does with the amount of targets he gets. But I mean, let's face it, the Cowboys love Jason Witten, and they got themselves another Jason Witten. And Jason Witten, how many times could I say it that quickly in that short a period of time? Jason Witten, Jason Witten, Jason Witten. He was always a top 12 tight end. Of course, that was always because he just always played and never missed anything. So he compiled those points to be a top 12 tight end. But isn't that enough in the tight end landscape still today? Like, that's more than enough. So yeah, you could tell me Dalton Schultz tight end 5, and I am cool. Yeah. I would not super question you.
Yeah. So this one, this is really just me trying to highlight that you might not like Jared Goff, but if you need a quarterback and you need a cheap quarterback, it might not take much convincing to pull him away from the person who already has him in your league.
All right, so let's jump into the other bridge quarterbacks we have. Like, what's going on with Baker right now? Like, the Browns have done everything they could to drive his price down. Like, we want to trade Baker. We don't want Baker on our team. Then cut him. Like, why would anyone give anything more than like a fourth at this point for what they're doing with Baker? But not the point. We're not here to talk real football. Baker Mayfield, again, like with Goff, I think is good enough to be a starter in the NFL. His situation in Cleveland was super weird, and he came in to the NFL with great accuracy ratings and then just couldn't throw the ball in the NFL. Maybe it's because of those white stripes instead of the black stripes. Jamar Chase preseason, bringing it back. Don't you feel silly, you people? But still, like, it's, again, with a low cost, no risk at that point, you could have a starting bridge quarterback, which always has a place on a super flex team. And especially with only coming in at 63.7 points in the analyzer, this trade was the 108 and Baker Mayfield for the 106 and Trey Sermon. Trey Sermon, 13.4. Oh, we've owned that guy so hard into the first round. So if I could jump up 2 spot, no. Okay, so here's my thing. If I can go for the 106 to the 108 and get Baker, I love that. Because that's a tier in there for me. At the 106, again, this is super flex. You're talking Pickett, Olave, Moore, maybe Walker fell that far, even though probably not anymore. Or like Jameson Williams. Like that's a tier of 5 that I just listed right there. You're going to get one of those.
Yeah.
At the 108. And I'll feel great about it. Give me a great bench quarterback that may start a couple of games at the beginning of this season or this whole season, depending what goes on with the Watson stuff, or gets traded, and chances are someone who trades for him will give him a chance to start. So, like, I'm all for going back 2 spots to get Baker on my team, and I'm sorry, I'm not even considering Trey Sermon as a price.
No, yeah, I 100% agree with you. Baker Mayfield is starting in some capacity this season, and honestly, I'm not even ruling out the fact that, like you said, he plays for the entire season for Cleveland because of the Deshaun Watson stuff. So move back 2 spots, get Baker Mayfield. That's a win for me in my books, for sure. I agree with you on that.
The next one we have is another one who has very similar situation where San Francisco literally just came out recently, and Kyle Shanahan's just like, yeah, we want to trade Jimmy Garoppolo. Cool. Jimmy Garoppolo is one of, I mean, it's a super easy comp to say because Patriots, but he's Mac Jones, right? Like, he's Teddy Bridgewater. He's a guy you don't feel great starting, but he's not a guy you feel bad starting. So Jimmy Garoppolo and Zeke Elliott for Devonta Smith and the 211. Zeke coming in at 193.7, Garoppolo 42.9, Devonta Smith 213.8, and the 211 coming in at 80.3, 236.6 to 294.1. I want you to go first.
Oh, I was hoping that you would go first because I was hoping that you would recognize what this trade was.
Did I do it?
Yeah.
Oh, is this my 12 Olympians trade?
I think so. I'll have to find it. But yeah.
No, yeah. I forgot I got Jimmy Garoppolo in that. Yeah, that was me and Casey. Okay, so here's... Okay, well, this is a perfect example, I guess. In that league, I love that we can, like, it's me. I can give context. I have Kyler Murray, Trevor Lawrence, and Daniel Jones on that team already. And
so you only have one actual like good NFL quarterback. We're fighting, Russ. It's fun.
If all of my stuff wasn't on this desk and I wasn't against the back of a couch, I would flip this right now. Except it would break a lot of money worth of merchandise that I need, and would just make me sad that having to spend the money to buy new stuff is bad, but buying new stuff is so much fun. That wouldn't make me sad, but my wife would get very mad at me. Okay, so I have two quarterbacks I feel good starting because I still like Trevor Lawrence enough to be a QB2. That's all I'm asking, QB2. And this is like 2 years into a rebuild where I'm like, all right, let me go a little bit. So that's why I grabbed Zeke Elliott in the trade. And then I figured everything I've been saying this entire time, why not take a quarterback that can easily start soon? And at some point, while I do have three quarterbacks, according to this guy, where I think I only have two, I have four probably starting quarterbacks on my team, in which case someone's going to get an injury and I'm going to be able to trade one of them eventually. So clearly I'll take the Zeke side because I did. And this wasn't really any sort of me lodging against Devonta Smith. That was very poorly worded, but I couldn't find the right words anyway. Like, I really like Devonta Smith. I firmly believe that he is the most valuable piece in this trade, and so does the analyzer agrees. 213.8 and Zeke is 193.7. I also just think Zeke's going to do really well this year, and there's a chance Devonta Smith does really well this year. So I took those points, and the 211 versus Jimmy Garoppolo, I said before, I would gladly trade that lower second for something that could be a starting quarterback.
Yeah. I saw this and I thought it was really interesting because I thought it was you and I wasn't sure. I mean, I guess I understood why you moved Devonta Smith and stuff. I don't really want Smith and I don't really want Zeke either.
Yeah, but when it comes down to that and I'm me, I just hit accept.
Sure. Yeah. But I like the idea of getting Jimmy Garoppolo. I do agree that I just think that he's safe and you can just plug him in and you're just like, cool, 16 points. Nice. That's better than any other like skill player that I would have thrown in there.
Yeah.
And that's that at the end of the day. Like, I don't really mind the trade. Like, I would definitely take the Zeke and Jimmy Garoppolo side for the points, you know, from Zeke. I don't really want Zeke in general, just in Dynasty, but the points and the shot on Jimmy Garoppolo as a starter.
So this next trade is why we're fighting. We were talking about what quarterbacks to list. Well, which to do in this list. And I listed Marcus Mariota. What did you say?
Marcus Mariota sucks. Can't fight me on that one, Russ. You know it's true.
Marcus Mariota's the See, I'm so flabbergasted. I can't speak. I am hurt and betrayed and angry and a little tired. Marcus Mariota, baby. He'll be fine this season. Okay, so Marcus Mariota, 62.2. Yay! He's the starting quarterback for the Falcons. He'll be this season. Maybe towards the end of the year, if they're doing really bad, they see what they have in Ritter, but I also think Mariota can very well do well enough, start this entire season, and even if then the Falcons decide to go with Ritter, Mariota can get another starting job somewhere. Like, he wasn't on the market for all that long, and especially last time when he filled in for the injured Derek Carr, he did really well. Mm-hmm. Like, don't get me wrong, the dude's not going to be a QB1, but like we're talking here, QB3 to QB2, that'd be awesome. And if you're telling me I can get Marcus Mariota for a 23 third and Bryan Edwards, yeah, I'll do that.
If Bryan Edwards was any better of a throw-in, I would probably be tempted to take that other side. But like, man, Bryan Edwards sucks. Yeah, I think I'd take the Mariota side here, and I'm just wishing that I get something a little bit better than Bryan Edwards.
But exactly, though, like, this is the gamble to make, because heck, 3 months down the line, some other quarterback gets injured, or someone who thought they had a starter gets beat out in camp. You can get that another 23 third back and get that extra bump. And okay, we're talking the difference between Bryan Edwards and some dude you just feel better about being as a dart throw, but still, it's something you felt better about. Yeah, there's
like Jamal Williams is in here, J.D. McKissick, Jamison Crowder, just as somebody who I know is going to
those two for sure. Yeah. Are you just looking at the Bills?
Maybe.
Oh, well, McKissick didn't go with the Bills. He just was almost.
Gus Edwards, I'd feel better about that.
I would not.
Sammy Watkins. I'd rather take the shot on Sammy Watkins than Bryan Edwards. So, yeah.
Hashtag Team Clem's a big wide receiver, baby. Yeah, Sammy Watkins all the way. But I'm absolutely cool getting Mariota for this. And if I get this in my inbox, I'm totally just like, what's the point? I'm just going to hold for now. Starting quarterback. Even if it's not the whole season, it's a third.
For like a week.
The 23 class is great. Yeah, it's still just a third. Don't care. Okay, it's about that time. Horrible trades. Okay. Ask me if I'm worried about Trey Lance right now.
Russ, are you worried about Trey Lance right now?
A little bit, yeah. And Jimmy Garoppolo is still there. I understand he had the shoulder surgery, so it's a little tougher to move him now anyway. I understand the honesty out of Kyle Shanahan isn't super helpful in the actual trade market. But things have not been glowing for Trey Lance like the way we want them to. But I still think he'll be great as long as he starts, which I'm like a good 80% that he will.
Mm-hmm.
He'll be fine because of his legs for fantasy, and his leash will be long enough because they paid up to go get him in the first.
So it doesn't sound like you would trade Trey Lance for Jared Goff and Carson Wentz.
I would not trade Trey Lance for Carson Wentz and Jared Goff. I would not. And you know what? I would not add Zay Jones on top of Trey Lance. I don't care that Zay Jones is. Everyone listening, guess how much Zay Jones is worth. And I still wouldn't add him. No. Okay, let's take a step back. I like Carson Wentz more than most because
I do too.
He's not great for fantasy, but he's pretty good for real life, where he is along the lines of what we've been saying before. Good enough to not lose you games as long as the game is not on the line. Most people are stuck on that week 15 or 16 game where he just
Wasn't it the last week of the season
Was
against
it
the
that far?
Jaguars?
I knew it was towards the end. I don't remember if it was the end.
Yeah, I think it was the last week against the Jags.
Though he does have the beautiful stat line of twisting both ankles on one play. That is talent. You can't teach that. But still, Carson Wentz will be that solid Q2. Jared Goff will be that solid QB 2 to 3. We're a little worried about Trey Lance. Trey Lance is, hold on, ADP 24.5, overall rank 30.5, 22 years old, and around, hold on, I actually have ADP up. So let's, of course, I have regular and not super flex.
10?
He dropped. He dropped.
Uh-oh.
To QB 13.
Oh, no. No.
Like, I can't even not like this because there's like this. This is beyond not like this. Like, if you're worried about Trey Lance.
Yeah, let's replace Wentz. So it's Lance for insert quarterback here and Jared Goff. Who's the quarterback?
Let me drop to QB like 15 and go Justin Fields or Tua. Man, I would go Derek Carr if I was competing.
Yeah. I was going to say, like, do you do like Zach Wilson and Jared Goff? Or Mac?
Are we just both looking at ADP and just reading in order? Because that's what I'm doing. And that's
no,
what
I just those are the two names that just came to my mind.
Yeah, Mac Jones is QB 18. Zach Wilson is 19, where I just left off at 17. So that was pretty coincidental. Yes.
I think that's the line.
Cousins,
I would probably
Kirk
do.
Cousins and Tom Brady, where you were getting the production, but the value is just too low. But
yeah, I can't do Brady just because I know he's done after the year.
We thought that.
I think he's done. He can make more money not playing football than he is playing football. So
you could have done that this year. Chose not to.
That's true. Not like this, Russ.
Just don't. Not even not like this. Just don't. We have gone beyond not like this. Beyond. Like, here's not like this. We're like up here. We are so high it is cut off by the beautiful Dynasty Trades DLF backgrounds we have going on. That's how high it is. But this has been the DLF Trade Show, where we are ending on a very weirder than normal note. And Addison, I think we did a good enough job holding it together for the people. I am not talking to you until next week.
Okay.
It'll be Wednesday morning, like, fine, what are we doing? And then we'll agree on whatever we're doing, and then we'll just pretend like nothing ever happens. But Russ Fisher, Dynasty Outhouse, senior contributor Addison Hayes at AmazeHayes _. No, I didn't forget yet. Catch you next time on the DLF Trade Show.